Hi all, I'm Al Deldegan, the creator and producer of the Libby podcast. This 100% volunteer-run show was born out of the Rainforest Alberta movement and features incredible people who are leaders, innovators, and have big ideas. This episode is hosted by Rea Hailley, and it is the second episode of her new series. This time, her guest is Thea Rouble. Rea, the mic is yours.
Hi everyone, welcome to 5 Questions and 1 Wild Story, Fempreneurs to Watch For. Today my guest is Thea Rouble. Thea, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you on.
Hi Rea, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Brilliant. Welcome. Okay, let's dive in. Ready for first question?
I'm ready.
Okay. What drove you to become an entrepreneur and why is this so important?
Ooh, that's a really great question. I would say that it's something that for me has always been, I guess, on my docket in the sense of when your mindset is expansive. And I feel like my mindset has always been very expansive. You're always looking for ways to grow. And I feel the entrepreneurial journey is all about growth. There's so many ways, not just professionally, but personally, you're consistently growing. And I feel like it's a 2-part answer as well, because we're forced into it, where our path just took us there and we just started taking step after step. And then all of a sudden we realized we're building this incredible foundation that we can start to grow our business with.
That's brilliant. Okay, tell us a little bit about your business.
So originally, I co-founded a pipeline and facility construction company with my husband. And then over time, we also founded a environmental drilling company. And then during that process, we realized that we needed to have some sort of digitalization of our business. And we started to build out a software program. And when we started building this software program, it was more so supposed to be for internal use. It was something that we had developed so that all of our processes ran smoothly. Operationally, we were just trying to become as efficient as possible. And then once we did become very efficient, I almost worked myself out of a job. And so I happened to have all this free time and I started going into other businesses to try to help them achieve that same level of operational excellence. And what I noticed was there is a huge amount of people out there right now that just don't use any sort of digitalization. And so there's people out there that are using paper field tickets and they're invoicing on paper. And then there's also a huge group of people that are using clunky methods like Excel and things like that. And all of a sudden I was like, hey, we have this great product. How do we build this into a business that can help other businesses? And then how do we support people in a way that they have a community where they can come to and ask questions and be supported, which led us into Opolee. So I am the CEO now of Opolee, and that is really our main objective, would be to grow other businesses with our own.
That's brilliant. I think you're the first entrepreneur I've ever spoken to that has said, I've entered this business by accident, that it just happened. That's brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
I would say, I'll stop just a minute.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wouldn't necessarily say it was by accident, but it was on the path. Like I'm sure we'll get to, but we've talked a little bit about this idea of like intuitive entrepreneurship, where you are shown the way and then you start to go down that path without really knowing that you're building a business until you're actually building it.
Yeah, I love that. I was speaking to someone yesterday that was telling me that tends to be more of a female trait, that intuition when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I agree, because typically I hear women talk about it and not so much men, which is really fascinating. Maybe it is. Maybe they feel that as well, but they don't share it or articulate it. Who knows? But I think that's brilliant. All right. So next question. What surprised you about becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh my goodness. That is, I feel like, a loaded question. There's surprises around every corner. The biggest one, though, for me was the ups and the downs and just really being prepared for both of those. I think that oftentimes when you don't have a business or before you enter that entrepreneurial journey, there's a level of excitement or people and you're like, wow, they must just be loving every minute of that because it's so exciting and they're growing. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that growth comes with some pain. It comes with some ups and downs, and a lot of that learning and happens in those moments where you need to rise up to adversity and you need to pivot and change, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable. And so I would say that was the biggest lesson for me, was how to survive in that level of discomfort.
Yeah, I think that's huge because it is discomfort, isn't it? Like, I think every single day there's some level of discomfort, at least for myself, because I'm constantly pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So yes, I've become very familiar with the uncomfortable feeling of being an entrepreneur.
Most definitely. But it can be such a beautiful place to be. I feel like they're really, like, when we talk about growth and pushing yourself out of those comfort zones, that is where the magic happens. And I think that those moments, when you look back in hindsight, are some of the most beneficial that you can have.
Without a doubt. And this leads perfectly into my next question. How many times did you want to quit and what kept you going?
Oh my goodness. There's been multiple times. And I would say it's a two-part question. So you have a dream, you have a goal, you have a vision. And I think that there has to be a relentless drive towards that dream, goal, and vision, in the sense, because there's going to be people that tell you, no, that can't be done, or you might feel like you're not good enough, or deal with imposter syndrome, or all of those things. And for me, it was always a belief that, no, we're doing the right thing and we're doing something bigger than ourselves. So a lot of our journey wasn't based around money or wasn't based around financial gain. A lot of it was based around really a betterment of the workers that we worked with, a betterment of society and community, and building all of these things, which is really the driving force that pushed us forward. And then the other part to that question is, I feel like from a really authentic place, there's a lot of moments in business where you want to quit, but you really can't.
Yes.
Because the reality of the situation is, not only are you relying on you, but there's all these other people that are relying on you. And I think that can be a huge driving force for people as well. It's that understanding that, again, it's bigger than yourself.
Yes, I agree with you completely. That's what I remember every time I want to quit. There are people counting on me, so I don't have that luxury of quitting. Okay.
Most definitely.
What are people most surprised to learn about you?
Ooh, that's a good question, too. I think that a lot of people that I have met recently have been not from my local area. So I'm born and raised in a northern British Columbia town. And I think jumping into the tech industry, people are like, wow, I can't believe that this idea came out of this small town in northern BC. And they're seeing the value in what we're doing. And I think that is probably the biggest surprise that I've faced lately, is just a geographical.
Nice. And why not? Mm-hmm. Great ideas come out of small towns.
100%. And I completely agree with that. And I think a lot of people are more just like, how did you end up here? How did your path lead you to the people that you're in front of today? And I think that is part of the journey as well, right? Is you take the opportunities as they come to you and pivot, like I had mentioned, and move and grow.
Yes. Yes. All right, next question. What advice would you give other female entrepreneurs?
I think the biggest one is really just standing in who you are, being authentic to who you are, and embracing the fact that, yes, there are vast differences between males and females, and those differences are what make us both beautiful. So in that sense of the thought process, like you say, there's maybe a level of intuition. There's things that I think females can bring to the table that are strengths that men don't necessarily have all the time. And so when you're looking at both genders, I think that everybody brings something different, and you just need to embrace exactly who you are and be authentic to who you are. And on a human level, people connect with that. People want to see the differences and accept them.
Yes, I agree with you completely. And I think I'm starting to see more of that, definitely in myself, but also in people around me, that their female entrepreneurs are starting to come out of their shell and just unapologetically be themselves and
Yes.
own up that they may not have all the answers. And that's okay, because we're learning every single day and we're figuring things out and we're still making progress.
100%. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to is connection on a human level. And everybody craves it. Everybody wants it. And I think that there's an opportunity for female entrepreneurs to really hone into how they connect with people and embrace it in such a positive way.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Final question. What's your one wild story?
Oh my goodness, I have many. But the one that came to my mind first when we decided to do this podcast was a moment that we had very early on in business where there was a large project that we had been working on and we were waiting to get paid and it wasn't coming in. So we were holding a lot of the costs. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs will relate with, is this idea that you hold a lot of costs before things start flowing. And we were going to be short on payroll. So Friday was coming around and we almost had it, but we were just marginally short on holding those costs. And I got up that morning and I remember I went to the mailbox and I thought to myself, like, I'm going to open up this mailbox and boom, there's going to be this check that we've been waiting for and all will be well. So I went to the mailbox, I opened it up, and there was nothing. And so I sat in my car, and I was, again, one of those low moments where you're just deflated, and you're like, I felt like there was something there, and I thought it was going to be okay. And as I was sitting in front of the mailbox, I got a phone call from our bookkeeper. So at the very early stages, we didn't do our books in-house. We had someone outside, and she called me and she said, "Hey, Thea, I've got this check here. And it's from WorkSafe BC of all things, and it's a rebate." And I remember just being like, oh my goodness, that's great. And how much is it for? And the amount was almost to the dollar, the exact amount that we needed. And it was one of those moments in business, or a sign, if you will, in business, where you sit back and you go, no, I'm on the right path. And this discomfort and this pain that I'm feeling is okay because it's pushing me to the next level. And I think that a lot of people in business can relate to that. And that idea of, it seems like the world might be ending, but there's always something on the other side that's pushing you forward to where you need to be.
That's so true. And I love that. That is a sign that you're on the right path. That's brilliant. I've had many signs as well. And also several times where, I lay awake in bed worrying about making payroll. And I think you're right. Every entrepreneur can certainly relate to that.
Yeah, most definitely. And in the moment, it feels wild. Like with that, I think that's why that was the one that came up to me first, was you're sitting there and you're just almost praying, if you will, like, yes, how is this going to go through and then all of a sudden it gets answered. And like, you can't deny that. And especially, it was fascinating to think that it was the exact amount and it was going to push us forward. And I think that ultimately, if you are working towards your goal and it's where you're meant to be, it will work out.
Yes, 100%. Before I became an entrepreneur, I used to look at entrepreneurs and think they're so lucky. They've just got it made. They can schedule their day any way they want. They're in charge of everything. No one's ever telling them what to do. And since becoming an entrepreneur, now when I see entrepreneurs, I just want to go up and give them a big hug and go, it's going to be okay. Because we all have those days. Yeah, you got this. It's all going to work out. Yeah, because it is tough. It's very tough.
Yes, it is 100%, but it's also extremely rewarding. And
yes,
I think that that's part of the journey. Like I said, that growth, and you don't find growth when you don't go through that discomfort. And I think that when you embrace it, that's where like the magic happens.
Thank you for sharing some of that magic with us and your experiences. And thank you so much for being my guest. Lovely chatting with you, Thea, and can't wait for our next conversation in the near future.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me, Rea.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Why not become a podcast host yourself? Libby is a community podcast, and we would love to have your voice as a host or a guest. Check out show.libby.ca for more information, show notes, and links for every episode.
This episode is brought to you by New Idea Machine, a unique blend of a tech incubator and a software development powerhouse. We're not just building software, We're crafting the next generation of homegrown tech wizards. Got a project in mind or looking to hire fresh talent? Reach out and let's make tech magic happen. Visit newideamachine.com for more info.
Music for the show was created by Tony Del Deegan.